everyone. Welcome back to Rodiculous. A quick reminder that you can listen to our show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and pretty much anywhere else, even here on YouTube. If you could take the time to give the show a rating on your favorite platform, I would really appreciate it. It really helps us out. Now, today's guest is someone who has truly pioneered content creation on YouTube. She is a New York Times bestselling author, longtime podcaster, actress, producer, host, comedian, and, well, I'm going to force myself to stop here because I could go on forever. I could not be more excited to be sitting down with the one, the only, the insanely beautiful and kind Grace Helbig.
Oh my God. Hi. That's such a nice intro. Jesus. Where do we go from here?
I have so many things to go.
Okay, great.
Are you ready for a direction?
I'm so ready. We were just talking a little bit before how nice it is to see you because it feels like old times and that those times feel safe.
I know. They feel nostalgic. They feel happy. They feel cozy.
Yes.
And for anyone listening, if you were going to VidCon,
yeah,
you're going to be able to see Grace and we're going to be on a panel together.
Is that what's happening? We're on a panel? See, I don't even know this much. Okay.
I wrote down the details. Hold on, let me find it on my little card here. Okay, so we have a panel together at VidCon this year, and it's going to be called, this is kind of embarrassing, YouTube Legends.
Whoa.
The OG creators who paved the way.
Wow, I didn't know about that. So that's very exciting. That will be like a true throwback.
I know. It's like we were trailblazers, but also being called legends and OGs, it kind of makes me feel geriatric.
Yeah.
Like it's like, come to the old people panel.
And it also feels a little patronizing. Like, look, these guys were great. Weren't they so good? Remember when?
From your childhood.
Yeah. It's like they're still here.
They're still alive.
That's how I feel going to VidCon this year. I'm a little like, I've tried to avoid it because I feel like I've, for good reason, outgrown it in different ways.
Same.
And it's changed. You know, I'm not a TikTok person. It's a TikTok convention now. And so now to be invited back, I feel like, you know, the senior that graduated, that's going back to their high school, that's just like, oh, I don't really belong here anymore, but it'll be fun.
You do belong there. Literally, our friends, Hank, they started it.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
If anyone belongs at a VidCon, it's us.
Yeah.
I feel like if we're in the Hall of Fame now, I feel like we just get these like annual passes.
Yeah.
That they're good for life.
What do we get out of this? What are they giving us?
Hopefully
Cars?
some good food.
Yeah.
That's what I was hoping for. Maybe some good drinks.
Yeah.
I'll be bringing other things.
Whoa. I'll be texting you to see where you are with these other things.
I'll be having a great time. And also, I want to get you into TikTok because it's really fun.
Yeah, I need a crash course in it because I don't know what the hell is going on over there.
Yeah, we need to do a lunch date or a dinner date and sit down and get into it because I've learned so much about it and I'm just starting, but I'm really getting into it.
Yeah, that's how you've always been. You've always been, from my point of view, someone that really studies the space and really wants to learn the platform. I admire that because I don't do that and I should at this point. So I'll glean anything you have to teach me.
I didn't do that for years on my YouTube channel for the last 5 years. I was telling you this before we were recording. I was saying that after I lost Dad, I really kind of just went into this weird survival mode where I was still going through the motions because I love creating content and it's just who I am and what I've always done. And I found peace in that. It's my routine. But I just was in another place. And it wasn't that my heart's not in it. I think it was just that my heart was broken.
Yeah, of course.
I was just so brokenhearted that I just felt like I was a shell of myself.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't fully there and present. I wanted to be, but I just wasn't.
Yeah.
And now for the first time, I feel like I'm myself again, like it's coming back. And not just myself, but I feel like my full self, like not just a part of myself.
Yeah, it feels like you're growing up, like you're evolving. I think, and I'm, not to turn this podcast around on you, but I'm really curious about your point of view. I think one of the really difficult things that creators go through, and I know I've been going through it over the years, is the way you evolve as a creator, as a person, and as a creator, because you make content that's meant to be as authentic as possible. And so sometimes I think in those early years, we sort of created these personas of ourselves, and they kind of crystallize over time with the amount of content that gets created. And what happens when you outgrow that? What happens when you go through something tragic or difficult and you feel like you're becoming a different person, but you don't want your content to change too much because people are familiar with you as they know you. So it's I think like a strange tension to have behind the scenes of knowing that you're changing, but wanting to still make content, but not knowing exactly how to do it authentically.
It's such a good... It's so funny because it kind of accidentally all fell into place and worked out.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't have overthinked anything. I should have just let go and just let what was happening happen, because my audience really grew up. They're like 18 to 24. They're young adults now. So I should have just opened up more, because I feel like for years I was a part of myself. Like you'd see a little snippet of me,
Of course, yeah.
but not my whole self. And I didn't really feel comfortable showing my whole self because I was doing baking tutorials. So I thought people were just tuning in to learn how to bake.
Right.
They wanted the instructions. They want to know what tips I'm using, what color I'm using, how did I achieve that aesthetic? How do I achieve that taste? How do I achieve that consistency? So I really kept it on just tutorial baking for almost 8 years straight.
Wow.
And I didn't really think my personality mattered.
Right, because you're like, it's about the cakes. It's not about me.
Right. So I would just kind of keep that. And I was so happy to film all the time that I was always in a good mood because I love filming. So I was like, and people are like, are you ever sad? And I'm like, of course I get sad. Of course I'm a human.
Yeah.
But I realized that, wait a minute, for like over a decade, I've never showed any emotion other than pure joy when I'm baking, because it's my happy place.
Yeah.
So no one's ever seen me as like a human, as a
Right.
holistic being that's multifaceted, that has emotions, that has, like, they've never seen that. So this is kind of the first time on the podcast where I've talked about my feelings.
That's great. And that's what you were like, I'm so surprised that the podcast has been successful. And I was like, I'm not surprised, because people want to see the person behind the persona. They want to see that you're human. Well, it's
kind of vulnerable.
It's so vulnerable.
So vulnerable.
And that's the scariest part, is to be like, oh my God, I'm showing you my human, and I hope that's okay for you. And it's really, really wild.
Because
it's
do
like
it so well. Gosh, you guys.
Oh, it's taken years to figure it out. Because I felt like the first 10 years of making YouTube content, I was like, I have to be this funny, like, version of myself that's just like bits. And then felt like, oh, similar to what you're saying, I'm having all of these feelings behind the scenes, and I'm going through all of these different emotional things in my real life. I want to be authentic and transparent about it, because otherwise I feel like I'm hiding in some way. And so it takes like a lot of weird courage to put yourself out there that way, especially when the other way that you've done it is working. Like, you just making cakes was successful. And me making jokes is successful. So if I'm showing something other than that, there's a risk that that's not successful.
Oh yeah, everyone was telling me, don't be open about smoking cannabis. Don't do it. It's gonna turn a lot of people off. It's a hot topic. It's, it's polarizing. It's whatever. And I don't know. I hit a point where I was like, I'm almost 40. Like, I'm just going to be me.
I honestly will say I was shocked and delighted when you started saying that you were smoking weed and your dad. I was like, this is great. This is the kind of grow up I want to see from the creators I love. This is unexpected and so specific that it has to be authentic to her. Like, there's no way she just pulled out of a bag of like, what kind of content should I make? Smoking, my dad. Okay.
I was saying this before to another friend, but, I decided to just honor it and be honest about it and be fully transparent, like an open book, because in entertainment, I always feel like stuff always comes out. So, you know, if you're going to do it in private, people are going to find out about it eventually.
Sure.
And I wanted people to hear it from me versus like through the grapevine and have it be something that it wasn't, you know? So I was like, you know, screw it, just go for it. And my mom smoked, my sister did. I mean, we just.
I think it's great. I think
I've so much.
I've learned a lot about smoking weed more in the last few years. And one of the things I've learned is that a lot more people do it than you think.
Yes.
So the people that are louder maybe are the ones that don't, that have a stigma that they project onto it. And so I've just found like a lot more comfort in the authenticity of being able to admit like I love smoking weed, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Same.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, when I was going to high school and college, I never smoked.
Yeah.
I was such a square because, you know, I had learning disabilities. So school was really rough for me. And it took all of my focus to just get through my classes and not fail them.
Sure.
You know, I had to put a lot of energy into that. So I was pretty much on the straight and narrow, not really by choice because I had to.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I had to stay focused to get through it. But then afterwards, when my dad was going through treatment, and he lost his appetite, and you know, I got to take cannabis, infuse it, make brownies and things in the butter, and it helped with his appetite and his nausea, and it really.
So you got to combine baking and cannabis. What an incredible way to help your father!
I need to send you home with some of my bougie brownies,
please. That would be so nice.
They are made all organic ingredients. All the ingredients are from Air One, and they're like $200 a brownie.
Jesus.
I broke down the math. They are bougie brownies. They are made with premium, top-notch ingredients.
Wow.
I have no business making these. Martha Stewart could never.
Wow.
Like, she would be like, these are too pricey.
Wow.
Like, they're like, a batch is like a thing of caviar.
Is
like,
this for content, or you made this just in your life?
I've been making this for the last 2 years, just for myself and my parties. Like if I have a party, I'll put out my special brownies, and those are the bougie brownies.
Wow, but there's no weed in them?
There is THC. You infuse it into the butter.
Incredible. Yeah, I would absolutely
try those. And then guess what?
Those.
Can't taste it at all.
I bet.
You can't taste it at all. That was my dad's request.
Yeah.
Because he didn't like when he'd have a brownie or a baked good that was special that you could really taste it. It was kind of earthy. You know, you could taste it.
Yeah.
He didn't want that. So I was a little scientist in the lab.
Wow.
You know, baking away until we figured out how to do it. And you would never know.
Amazing.
Until you know.
Until you know.
Yeah.
You'll eventually know.
Oh, you'll figure it out. Okay, so I'm looking here on my little fact card, and I found this.
Okay.
So you uploaded your first video November 10th, 2006. 18 years ago.
Wow.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
You are literally one of the OGs. I'm proud to be an OG with you. I looked up to you so much when it was, you were doing all this comedy stuff. You were trailblazing. You were breaking records. You were, what I remember, the first YouTuber to have your own TV show on television, like to transcend into traditional space. I wrote it down here. The Grace Helbig Show. I watched every episode. It was on E, and it came out in 2015, you guys. And I was blown away because at this time, still traditional media used to just treat us like
garbage.
Yeah. We weren't even underdogs. We were just gum on a shoe, on a dirty shoe.
Yeah.
Next to a trash can.
Yeah, we were talentless hacks making videos in our basement.
Right.
And putting them on the internet for perverts to watch.
Right.
That's what they thought about us.
And you're over here kicking down doors so that, you guys, I just want to put out here, ready? For every influencer on this platform, we didn't just walk so you could run, we crawled, okay? We crawled barefoot. No,
we took every crumb they dropped for us.
Yeah, and we crawled with no knee pads.
Well, I will say,
we tore up those knees.
I have to give credit to Bo Burnham because he had a show on MTV, I think, and it was like a scripted show about I believe like a guy that was like internet famous. And the problem was it was like before its time.
Yep.
Because the like idea of a famous internet person hadn't been like culturally understood, I think. And so I feel like if he put that show out now, it would be incredibly relevant. But yeah, it was a tough industry out there at that time.
Rough.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of The Comeback. I feel like that came out way before its time. And then 10 years later, they released a season 2. But I digress. Sorry, it's my ADHD. I also love when I was still making YouTube videos, I just was seeing you kick down doors and do so many things that were crossing mediums. Like you released your book.
Yeah.
Which I was like, oh my gosh, your style book. I loved it.
Thanks.
And you're like producing 2 of your own movies.
Yeah, really, it was incredible I remember Camp Takota, the first movie that Hannah Hart and Mamrie Hart and I got to make. We met with a producer who just didn't look at us like we were pieces of shit, really was like...
It's a nice feeling.
Yeah, it was really refreshing that he wanted to hear our ideas and perhaps even put financial backing to them. And so it was just finding the people that really believed in the power of what you were doing. And the cool thing about Camp Takota was I was vlogging behind the scenes the whole time of making the film. So it really brought an audience in a way that I don't think people had experienced in other films before. So it felt really like a group project with the audience. It was like a really special production and project. It was like lightning in a bottle kind of thing that we say. We're like chasing the dragon after that one. It was really cool.
I felt that.
Yeah.
When that movie came out, I was like, things are going to change.
It was really sweet because it felt like the community got really behind it. Creators got really behind it. And it just felt like at the time it was when we were all truly supporting each other in all of our individual endeavors. It was like high tides raise all ships, that everyone was going out on limbs to help everyone else promote and support or create the projects that they wanted to do. It was a really exciting time.
And that's that warm, fuzzy feeling of YouTube that I love.
Yeah.
And I
remember going and seeing like your baking goods in like stores and being like, this is so cool. Like this is an internet person in a real store that non-internet people are going to experience. And it felt like a win for us collectively as like a community and an industry. It was a very cool time.
Yeah, and there was like a lot less of us, and I feel like we would hang out in person a lot and collaborate a lot and support each other a lot.
Yeah.
And it just felt so
pure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a word.
People had business goals and dreams and that sort of thing, but it didn't feel competitive the way that traditional media so often felt.
It didn't feel cutthroat. Mm-hmm. It didn't feel like war.
No.
It didn't feel like I'm going to push someone else down to get a leg up.
Yeah.
It felt like, hey, we're all underdogs.
Yeah.
We're all getting treated like crap. Let's rally and support each other and do this. And it really was the first time in my life that I felt a community in like a career.
Yeah.
I've never felt like that ever in my entire life. And it was just so magical. And for those of you watching during that time, you may remember that and feel that because I feel like that translated onto the screen and beyond.
Yeah, because everything everyone was doing, every opportunity that each creator got was new for the community itself. So it was so exciting to see like one of us out there getting something cool going. And it felt really like it rippled through the space. Yeah, it was like a very special sense of community that, you know, I don't know that I've found since or will find. I don't know. I've gotten to a point, I used to feel very like, oh, I miss that. And now I'm at a point where I just feel very grateful to have been a part of that.
Me too.
Yeah.
It was like bootstraps, building a platform, educating journalists that, hey, we're not just some dog shit talent with a talent. Like there's real comedians, real makeup gurus and artists, and there's musicians, and there's like Martha Stewart types.
Yeah.
We're out there. We're just our own production companies. So it was just a lot of training. I feel like a lot of education with media, but it was brutal. I would go on these press tours and those journalists would just rip me to shreds.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, they were brutal. And I took quite a beating for many years. But I just kept going out there.
Yeah.
And eventually that tune started to change. But it took a long time, and I was thinking about this a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we were the newest form of star, the newest form of celebrity.
I mean, if you think about it, we were making YouTube content before the word influencer
Even existed.
So what we were doing catalyzed that a creation of a job that had never really existed before. So of course, how could any of us predict that would come out of it? We were just, I think, so happy to have the chance to be doing something like truly like a dream job that I didn't know I could have, kind of thing. So
that
it was
didn't
like
exist when we were growing up.
Right, exactly. So it was like there's no blueprint. We're all just flying by the seat of our pants, trying to figure it out as we go. And I think we did an okay job, though I think we've all spiraled in different directions since. So the emotional I guess weight of it does have to be processed over time.
Yeah, and so many of my friends who have been content creators for a long time, they've really diversified and grown so many different businesses.
Yeah.
That kind of like a tree, just branched out.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of try to think about my businesses, is that it all started from YouTube, but now it's really branched out.
Yeah.
And it's doing its own things. And
I feel like you could teach a class on entrepreneurship in the internet space.
I literally should. I do so much business that's not on YouTube that I don't ever talk about.
That's what I mean.
Just
I feel like
I never thought people would be interested in it, but it's really successful, so maybe I should.
I feel like people would be shocked and like insanely excited to hear about that world that they don't know about, that is incredibly successful and very robust.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell people when they're starting online or in entertainment, if you find any financial success, diversify as fast as possible and as comfortably as you feel possible.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, it really creates that stability for not only a lifetime, but generations. Yeah. Like it can change not just your life, but generationally the future of your whole family.
Yeah.
Like it has the power to do that. And I thought that was a huge blessing. And I almost got emotional because I was thinking about, I went to the premiere of Dirty 30, and I remember at the premiere I learned that you guys teamed up with Lionsgate. I didn't even know that before. Yeah. And then when you guys were speaking at the event, I was like, this is a real moment. Yeah. Like I started crying. I was sobbing, and Justine was with me. She actually drove me home because I was like an emotional. It was happy tears, but it was like a wreck. Like I just couldn't believe what was happening in front of my eyes.
Yeah, it was like, I think I have spent the last few years actually processing those years, because things were incredible, but they were also at a pace
so fast
that was impossible to process in real time. And so you were taking every opportunity that came to you because why not? And this is the most unbelievable thing. So you do it, but it also, I think, led to an incredible amount of burnout that I've been working through over time, and have, since started to process. The immense weight of that opportunity was really incredible. And so
I think that's a lot of us as content creators. Just if you're an artsy person, if you're a creative, whether you're a writer or musician or whatever, I think that creatives often don't know how to build businesses. Yeah. They learn later. That's what I learned, is that I was a creative first and then got thrown into these opportunities and then had to really navigate and learn how to do a business. Yeah. And I'm also also learning that the areas that I really suck at, I just need to outsource and hire someone who's an expert who can head that up.
Yeah.
Because these opportunities came in so fast.
So fast, yeah.
That I my head was spinning, and it was just like,
This is fine.
let's do our best here.
Yeah.
I just love your chemistry with you and Mamrie. I just had her
thanks.
on, the other week, and I can't believe how long you guys have been friends. And so for anyone listening, Grace is the other half to the This Might Get Weird podcast with Mamrie, who was a guest just a little bit ago. And you guys have done so many episodes. You've done probably 100 million episodes by now.
I think we're in the 300s
And
at
your
this point.
chemistry is so good. I feel like you were podcasting before anyone was podcasting. And I remember I would tune in and I love to just hear the chatter, the conversations, the things that would come up, because you guys, it's like listening to two best friends, two sisters who are just hanging out, and you get to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Like, how did you guys always have that great chemistry? How did you guys meet?
We met, we met in 2007 or 2008 in New York City. We got put on a sketch comedy team together.
No way. Was this with Nicole Byer too back in the day, or is that separate?
Mamrie was on a different team with Nicole Byer.
Right.
We were on a team that was part of the People's Improv Theater. The team was called Finger, like the way a baby says finger. And the team had already been formed and a few people left, so they brought Mamrie and I in, and we didn't know each other at all. And I remember one of the first sketches that someone pitched to the team was called Everybody Loves Grace. And the premise was like, everyone loved me and everyone hated Mamrie. And I didn't know her at all. And I was just like, okay, this is some interesting energy to come into right away. But she had actually, I was doing DailyGrace at the time. I just started, but was kind of keeping it to myself because no one, 2009, no one's really talking about the internet. It was like this secret side job that I had. And I had told her about it. And she was like, oh, I have an idea for a web series. Because she was a bartender at the time. She was like,
it's a great drink.
Yeah, she was like, I want to do something called like You Deserve a Drink, where I make a drink for like a celebrity every week, and then I do a bunch of puns, and there's a built-in drinking game. I was like, well, I have all the equipment. Like, come over to my apartment. I'll shoot it. I'll edit it, because she didn't know how to edit at the time. And that's how it all started. That it was like she would come over, make me drinks, we'd get drunk, film the videos, I'd edit them, she'd leave the booze as payment, and it was just a really fun way to hang out. And so, yeah, we've been friends and working together ever since. So, like, I don't know, 16 years or so? Crazy. Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I love that art and comedy brings people together.
Yeah.
And it was like I love comedians. I just get them.
It was really fun to have someone else in New York at the time because there weren't many creators living in New York. Everyone was sort of moving out here to Los Angeles. And so it was really cool to be able to make stuff with her since it didn't feel like anyone else was really doing that in New York at the time. It was really cool. Very special.
Okay, I have another question for you.
Yeah.
So Mamrie told me about your upcoming tablescaping contest.
Yes. Oh, man.
I can't wait. Can I come?
Please come, but wait till we have an idea. She's been promoting her cookbook, which is beautiful and it's like 3 years of hard work put into it. And so we've been waiting for that to kind of the dust to settle on her cookbook promoing. For us to actually get our brains together and figure out what our idea is. Because I think it's in like 2 months we have to get it set up. But yeah, we're entering the OC Fair tablescaping competition.
I am so excited for you guys.
Me too.
Mamrie gave me homework. She told me I had to watch the documentary set. So I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Isn't it incredible?
I literally sent her clips. I was like, look what I'm watching.
It's so good.
It was so good because it really reminded me of one of my favorite films, Best of Show.
Yeah.
Best in Show.
Yep.
And I watch it every year.
Yep.
And it has that same, there's all these quirky characters and they're doing this, very kind of a niche, competition, but everyone's really into it.
It's seemingly silly, but they take it very seriously.
And it makes me adore them.
I loved it so much. We talked about it on our podcast, and then people that were in the documentary reached out to us. And then last year, I went to the OC Fair for the first time and saw all the tables that were in competition. And I was like starstruck walking into the room and seeing like 40 tables just completely decorated. I was like, they're even more beautiful in person. They're just so fun. You can see everyone's personality, and they have a kids section where kids will enter their tables too. And it's just so wholesome and sweet, but still like creative. So yeah, we are entering and we don't want to embarrass ourselves. So we have some work to do.
You guys got to bring it.
Yeah,
okay.
We do.
All right.
So
if you need a sponsor, you let me know. We got to win this thing.
Thanks. I know. We don't want to disrespect the community that, we're kind of coming in as strangers to. So we want to be as respectful as possible and professional.
I think you should trailblaze it, because you should just get in there, really tear it up. Because you guys are so creative, and I think when I think of you guys too, I think of wonderful hosts. Like when Mamrie's had me over, she's just always like cooking and making drinks.
Great
and she's just so wonderful at hosting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what I feel like tablescaping all about.
Yeah.
It's artsy, it's creative, but it's also like setting up an environment at a table I'd want to sit down at.
Yeah. There's like a PDF book of instructions because there's actual rules of like utensils and plates and the amount of things on a table and how many glasses and what kind. And so there's actual like etiquette and rules that we have to follow so we don't get points taken off. So it's going to be a huge learning curve, but I'm really excited. It's going to be very silly.
I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
I'm not joking. I might come.
Yeah,
I might invite myself and come.
I feel like, regardless of if our table's shit or if it's actually great, it will bring people to the fair, I think. So there is room for us to make some sort of, collaboration with the OC Fair in the future. We'll see.
I love this idea because I love fairs.
Yeah, I've never been until last year. It was the first time I'd gone.
I love to shop.
Yeah.
I love it all.
It was great. I had the most fun, and it was just so wholesome and so like authentic. There was like, the pumpkin growing competitions, and there was like livestock competitions, and there was just like local women's dance groups doing recitals on a stage. And I was just like, these are the people of this community. Like it was just very sweet. I had the best time.
It makes me so happy.
Yeah.
It makes my heart happy. So when we were talking earlier, we were talking about how you were like cannabis kind of was a part of, I don't know how to say it is, wait, can we talk about, because I was going to talk
breast
about
cancer?
Yeah,
of course.
Because I know for everyone it's different.
I know. I'm learning that people are very unsure of the etiquette. And to me, there is no etiquette. I'm an open book, so you don't have to feel weird at all about asking me anything or wanting to talk about it. But I do know for other people, it's not always the case. So you are welcome to ask away, and I'd love to talk about it.
Okay, here's all my questions.
Yeah.
Okay, because when I heard that you had breast cancer, I felt like my heart broke a little.
Yeah.
Because cancer runs in my family. I've had many family members affected by it, and 3 of the women in my family passed from breast cancer, and I know how dangerous it can be.
Yeah.
And when you were diagnosed, when were you diagnosed? How did you find out?
Yeah, I was diagnosed in the spring of 2023. I found a lump in my left breast, but I really, for like a year, was like, it's nothing.
What did it feel like? Can I ask you that?
It felt like a lump, but I have what is medically called dense breasts. So
a dense breast.
The tissue in my breast is very dense, so it was hard to say. It felt like, when you get a knot in your muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like kind of like that. So I was like, I don't know how seriously to take this. And so finally I went to a routine gynecologist appointment, and she like missed the lump when she was doing her normal inspection.
Oh no.
And I am very much not a person to bring up, to my detriment, I'm not a person to bring up things or ask questions that I think might be kind of stupid. But, you know, something in me was just like, just ask. And I asked her like, hey, did you notice a lump over here? And she was like, oh yeah, actually I can kind of feel that. And then she referred me to a surgical doctor who then referred me to get my very first mammogram because I was 37. So I was under the age group that the doctors were even recommending mammograms for. So I wouldn't probably have gotten a mammogram until my 40s at that point. And that would have been probably really too late in a lot of ways.
Then, yeah.
So I got a mammogram. They asked me to come back to get a biopsy. And then a week later, I found out it was stage 2 triple positive breast cancer, which in a good way for me, that was one of the most treatable forms of breast cancer. So there was a very clear treatment plan that they knew worked for people. So I didn't have to do the really difficult thing that a lot of people have to do, is get second opinions and consider their options. I had a very clear, like, this is what we do to treat this type of breast cancer. That said, it's still breast cancer. And so the treatment was really aggressive and really hard. However, Taryn Southern, another content creator that I had known for years in the YouTube space, she reached out to me. She was like, I got diagnosed with the exact same breast cancer 4 years ago. Are you doing this treatment plan? It was the exact same thing. And she was like a godsend of just like information, letting me know her experience. And I just felt like, oh, she's 4 years out and she's doing incredible. Like, I can see the model of how this works. And that was so invaluable to me.
Wow.
Yeah, really wild. And so now I'm a huge advocate of getting your mammograms at an early age, getting checked, advocating for yourself, regardless of how stupid the question is that you have, that you think it might be. There's never a stupid question, especially medically, in my opinion. So yeah, it was a huge shift, a very big life turning point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you were doing treatment and then after treatment, when did they say, hey, we got this thing? Like, you're in, what do they call it? Remission?
Yeah. So even after my first round of chemo, the lump that was in my breast seemed to go away completely. Like, I was like, it's not there anymore. This is crazy.
Shrank.
Totally shrank.
Like, you can't really feel it.
I was like, it's gone. What happened? Do I have to do more rounds of chemo? Like, can I just be done now? And so I did. I finished the 6 rounds. I had a really tough time in the middle. Actually, I do a live show now that's all about the cancer experience, so you can hear all about it in that live show.
Go watch her show. Okay, so Grace, where is your show? Where can people watch it? Where can they come see you?
I wrote my first hour of stand-up and storytelling called Let Me Get This Off My Chest, obviously about breast cancer. And I'm taking it to Edinburgh Fringe this year for the first time. Never been to Fringe before. So it's weird that cancer has allowed me to check off this bucket list comedy opportunity. So thank you, breast cancer, I guess. And I'm doing a few shows in Chicago, St. Louis, and Atlanta, which you can find in my Instagram bio if you go check out over there and get tickets. But I did my 3 rounds of chemo.
Right.
And then I had a lumpectomy surgery, and then I did radiation. And after my lumpectomy, they got the results back, and they said that there are no traceable signs of cancer. And that's kind of when I knew that I was in remission. I just still had to finish my radiation, and yeah, it was really great. It was.
Do you ever do any now, like any stuff with the? I don't know, what's it called? Like charity, like cancer. Words.
I know what you mean.
As you can tell, I'm not.
That's the thing. Well, once you go through that, I feel this immense amount of duty to be of service now to these cancer communities and organizations and foundations. I actually met this incredible woman, Alyssa Calver, who operates a nonprofit called We Got This, where I weirdly this ties to YouTube. I met her through Glozell.
No way.
Because I made a joke in a video saying that we should have cancer registries the way people have wedding registries, so people that are diagnosed can put up all the things that they need and their friends and loved ones can buy whatever off the list for them. Turns out it already exists. Alyssa had created We Got This, which is the first nonprofit for cancer registries. And she was trying to reach out to me because someone sent her my video making the joke. And she's friends with Glozell. So she had Glozell. She was like, can you put me in touch with Grace? So Glozell puts on her public Instagram story, hey, Grace Helbig, I want you to get in touch with my friend Alyssa. Just to her millions of followers on Instagram. The most Glozell way to connect me. Glozell. I love her so much. And I've been able to see her a few more times than I have over the years in the last couple of years because of this, which is so lovely. But Alyssa is living with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer and is one of the most vibrant, incredible people that I have met in this entire experience. She's got a new book coming out, and so I've been working a lot with her, and We Got This to help kind of grow that organization and make it more than just a cancer registry website. And so that's been very fulfilling, and especially to just see someone like her who's living with stage 4, live such a immensely vibrant life. It's just incredibly inspiring. Oh. But there's other ways that I want to be of service. I do think the way I'm best served is by being a silly little clown. So getting on stage and doing this show, which effectively...
your show is, I was going to say, is like...
Yeah, is meant to kind of encourage people to get their mammograms and to go make those awkward appointments that I think we all kind of naturally avoid because they're so awkward.
What age are you supposed to get a mammogram?
I think I think doctors are recommending mammograms for women in their 40s, young 40s, something like that, which is, the age bracket should be pushed down a bit because there's studies coming out now that millennial women, especially, the diagnosis rate is like skyrocketing for us right now. And I feel like, once I got diagnosed, this kind of world of cancer that I thankfully am very privileged to not have any experience with just like opened itself up to me. And I'm like, holy shit, there's so many people affected by cancer, either personally or with someone that they know. And the amount of women my age over the last year that I've heard have gotten diagnoses or scary, situations is just like wild. And so if you are in that millennial age bracket, I highly encourage you to get a mammogram. If anything, it's just peace of mind.
Yeah, screw it. Do it at mid-30s.
Yeah. I mean, what's it going to hurt? I mean, it's just the most awkward experience. Have you gotten a mammogram?
No, I'm going to go get one.
You better go get one. And it's such a silly, ridiculous experience because the machine itself is so awkward. That's why I keep saying that we can't cut cancer funding, specifically because I can't imagine that the way we do mammograms is the best way to be doing mammograms.
I feel that way about half of the procedures that I go into the doctor's office about. I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. This seems like archaic. And I do the self-examination all the time. Yep. And at my annual physical, my doctor gets in there.
Yeah.
She really gets in there. And I actually removed my augmentation. I had implants for about 14 years. I removed them because I don't want anything obstructing anything. I had many reasons to do it, but one of them was I wanted to be able to know exactly what's going on there. I didn't want anything in the way.
Especially if you have family history. I had no family history and no BRCA gene, and so it was just very, very out of the blue. To the point that I found out my gynecologist, I went back to another routine appointment earlier this year, and she was like, yeah, I really didn't think you were going to have anything when I sent you out the door that day. I was like, you didn't? Okay. So people, and my surgical doctor, same thing. She was like, I use you now as an example of why, even if you have the slightest suspicion, you should get checked, because she too didn't really think it would come back positive. So it was a surprise to all of us.
I'm really proud of you. I really believe in people being their own advocates.
I've had to learn. It really makes a difference, but I know how hard it is to speak up in those situations. I was really, really thankful to have doctors that were really receptive. And I know a lot of people don't experience that and feel very gaslit in those medical situations. So I feel very privileged in hindsight to be able to have people that really listened and valued my thoughts and opinions. But if you are working with someone that doesn't listen to you, get a second opinion.
Go to somebody else. Because I've worked with wonderful doctors, and I've worked with doctors who just ignore me.
Yeah.
And every single time those previous doctors who I don't work with anymore ignored me, I went to someone else, a specialist, and they were like, no, this actually is a huge issue.
Yeah.
And they were just completely dismissing it. And
I was so thankful that even though my doctors didn't maybe think anything would come of it, they still sent me on a path to get it checked out.
Yeah, to be looked at. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Grace.
Yeah. It was pretty wild. But honestly, here's the weirdest part. It's made me a better person. It happened in my life at a time that couldn't be more like serendipitous of needing some sort of paradigm shift for myself emotionally and psychologically. Like, I had gone to graduate school during the pandemic because I was so burnt out on making content, and I was so unsure of what to do with myself if I wasn't making content. All I knew was how to make YouTube content, and that was making me so sad and so frustrated. I was like, I don't know what to do with myself if I'm not doing that. So I went to graduate school and studied psychology, and it was an incredible 2-year experience, especially during the pandemic. Wow. To be in a group of people that I think we're all feeling stuck in different ways in their lives, and we're looking for some sort of inspiration and motivation. It was like a very cool group of people, and people that...
Grace, I didn't know that.
Yes.
You just snuck in a degree.
I know. My husband's actually getting his PhD at the same school that we both, it was very cute. We both found this school and liked different programs in it. So we both signed up at the same time for different programs, and we graduated. So weird. I had a biopsy. And the same day I had my biopsy, we drove up to our graduate school graduation in Santa Barbara, and then came back and had a week to wait for the results for breast cancer. And we didn't tell anybody about it because it was like too much to process. But I was finishing my education, and I did a program that wasn't a straight psychology program. So it wasn't like I could become a therapist or work in advertising or something like that, or HR. I did this kind of arts-based depth psychology program. And so there wasn't any direct way to translate that into business or into work. It was just I'm infusing it in different ways, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be a therapist when this is done. So when the program was over, I was kind of back at square one of what am I going to do with myself? Like, do I want to make content again? And then bam, a week later, I got diagnosed with breast cancer. So I was like, well, I guess that's what I'm doing next. This is the next thing on the docket. And another YouTube connection in the other most kismet and blessed in a non-traditional way, Hank Green got diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma a month before I got diagnosed with breast cancer. So I was watching him announce his cancer diagnosis, watching how he was handling with, for lack of a better word, such grace, his communication with his audience, and how he was sharing something that is so personal and so out of the blue, that I was able to sort of look at the way he did it and talk to him behind the scenes about what was going on. I remember texting him and being like, hey dude, guess what? I've got it too, like a month later. And so I felt very not as scared to tell people because I had watched how Hank was able to do it so with such integrity. And so, because it's something that is so personal that a lot of people do keep it to themselves. And I decided against that and put it out on the internet. And
I think it's so brave.
Thanks.
It really is. And I think it
honestly-
helps so many people because so many people are going through the same thing or they know someone who's going through the same thing. And I feel like the more stories out there and the more information out there, especially about medical stuff, I feel like it can only help.
Absolutely.
Because there's so many unique situations and variations of cancer and how it progresses and how it develops and everything like that. And so to understand different types of it, I just think it can just do nothing but help people. But I know that it's really hard because my dad, he even had a hard time telling us that he had cancer.
Yeah.
Because he was like the rock of our family. He was always our steadfast rock. And so he never, I think, wanted to be seen as faltering, as weak in any way. And I think he couldn't even muster the words. It was like every time we hung out, I could feel that he wanted to say something, but he wasn't. And he would just leave. And I was like, there's something off. So one day he just shoots me an email.
Yeah.
Because he just couldn't physically like say the words.
It makes it very real to say it. And it sounds like your dad was someone that didn't want to need help.
Yeah.
And that cancer basically is saying you're going to need help from people, and to
so
have
stubborn and so prideful in it.
That's how I felt too. That I was like, I've grown up kind of paving my own way and not needing anything from anyone, for better or worse. And it humbles you in such a way where you have to let people help you. And that was really transformative for me. But I can see how that would have been very, very difficult for your dad.
Yeah, it was so hard for him to even tell us. And I'm like, Dad, we're like best friends. Like we hang out every day. Like, how could you not tell me? I tell you everything. I would tell him everything, whether he wanted to know it or not.
Yeah.
He would literally be like, TMI, Dad doesn't want to know that. Dad doesn't, like, I told him about my first kiss. I told him when I went past kissing.
Oh my God.
He was like, shut up. Don't want to hear it. But I would tell him anyways. Yeah. And so I said, Dad, I've shared my entire life with you.
Yeah.
How come you wouldn't tell me?
Yeah.
We talk about everything. And he was just like, I just couldn't, because I think what you're saying, it just made it real. And I think he was scared. I think that the type of leukemia that he had, the stage it was in, I think it just terrified him.
Yeah.
And I think that it took him a really long time to just even be able to be like, okay, this is what I'm doing, and for everyone to get on board.
It's a mind fuck, because it changes your whole world like that.
God, fuck cancer.
Like, it is so, like, it flips you upside down, and then you have to make sense of the world from this point of view now, where everything's turned around. And it happens so fast that a lot of I remember when I finished my treatment, my doctor had said, some patients say that the hardest part is after they're done. And a lot of people don't talk about it. So just, be in communication with us if you're having a hard time. And I had seen people leave comments and messages, same thing, that like even when you're finished, you get thrown back out and you're like, what the fuck just happened? And you have to like figure out who you are again and how the world works and where you are in it. It's just wildly disorienting, like, consistently. So it's, I think, really important for people to be able to share that, because it makes it slightly less terrifying. People will say like, oh, you're brave for sharing your story. Mm-hmm. I just didn't think that there was another way. And selfishly, I had no experience with breast cancer. So to be able to hear from comments and messages, people's experiences, what to expect, here's what you should buy, here's like a little tip, here's a little hack, here's a little thing. It was so helpful in so many ways that I couldn't do at my computer by myself, just trying to Google, what do I need?
There's so much information. It's so overwhelming.
And it's contradictory, and people have different ways that they think things should be done for people. And so it was just really, for me, very helpful to be able to communicate with an audience the whole time, because it makes you feel very lonely too. It's very isolating. And so it was my access to the world by vlogging during my treatment to be able to feel like I was still like part of society, because you can isolate yourself incredibly easy in a situation like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We thought my dad had severe depression. That was what we first thought, because he had lost a lot of energy, interest in things. He was sleeping all the time.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, we thought, well, what's going on with Dad? Maybe he's having a midlife crisis. Maybe he's depressed or something. But I've never seen my dad like that. That is just not him. That's not. He's so full of life. He's so social. He's like a social butterfly.
Yeah.
He loves people. He loves being busy. So to see him like that, I thought, oh, he's got depression. And then went to the doctor, and it was like, well, it's not depression. It's leukemia.
Is that how you found out?
Yeah. We thought my dad had depression.
And he didn't know yet?
No.
Oh, okay.
He didn't know. And we thought he had depression because he was fatigued, a lot of fatigue, tired, and had lost interest in things. And he always had a bunch of hobbies. He was always at a friend's house. He was just always helping a neighbor. He's just that kind of a guy. Mm-hmm. He's literally like, oh, I fixed Bill's fence. I helped their son learn how to garden that. He's just that kind of a guy.
Yeah.
And so to see him change like that, we all thought it was depression, because we're just Googling, the symptoms, and that's what came up. There's Google, and then, but I'm just thankful that at least that got him to go to the doctor. Yeah. And my mom was like, oh yeah, I'm working with Dad. It's fine. So I just didn't think anything of it. And he didn't want to share anymore at that time. So
I see.
Then it was leukemia. And then we found out it was the aggressive type. So he was only supposed to get 2 years, but we actually got 6 years with him.
Wow.
Because he got to partake in some, what are they called?
Clinical trials?
Yeah, they were clinical trials. He qualified for clinical trials and these new experimental drugs.
Yeah.
And I think for about 30 or 40% of the people participating, it was effective.
Wow.
So we were really lucky, because science gave us, and those new meds gave us, more years with Dad.
Yeah.
And so did cannabis, because during treatment, he lost so much weight too quickly, too fast.
Yeah.
He was super nauseous. And so when I would make him the special brownies, brought back his appetite.
Yep.
Got him eating again.
Yep.
It stopped the nausea. And the doctor said, right on.
That's what
Keep doing it.
When I met with my oncologist to talk through the treatment plan the first time, he was like, do you have any questions? I was like, can I smoke weed still? I was like, I should have maybe one other question than this, but this is my only question. And he was like, absolutely. He's like, I encourage my patients that are curious about that, specifically for appetite, because you will have a hard time eating, and you will have a lot of pain and a lot of, emotional discomfort. And cannabis for me was so helpful through treatment. It really managed a lot of things that were really difficult to manage, and just gave me an appetite, because same thing, I was losing weight, and I didn't have a lot of weight to lose in the beginning of it. And so it was at one point a little scary. So that was truly a really effective drug for me.
Right on.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
I've been a fan
huge
since.
fan. Gosh.
Yeah.
I was joking about our panel that we're going to be on at VidCon this year, the YouTube legends, the OG creators who paved the way. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about it, and it feels like almost like a high school reunion.
Yes.
It feels like we're all getting together again, and it's like the class of, honestly, in a yearbook.
That's what I'm excited about, because that was the heyday years, those golden years. It did feel like we were in a class with everyone, like that everyone felt very close, even if we weren't close friends. Like, people had their kind of like cliques or groups, but everyone, like, I remember walking into VidCons and just loving those weekends, because you got to see the creator that you don't normally see, but you still feel like you've been friends with them the whole time, even if you haven't seen them in a year. So that kind of familiarity, I'm excited to walk back into.
Me too. I was just thinking about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, for the Hall of Fame, if we had like yearbook quotes. Do you remember those yearbook quotes? For like your senior year, they would say, pick a yearbook quote. Do you remember your quote? Did you pick a quote?
I'm sure I picked a quote. I don't remember at all what my quote was. And they had you do the senior portrait, so you hold like a rose.
Yes, the senior portraits and the things. I was trying to think, like, Oh my gosh, Grace is so funny and witty. I was like, she's got to have a great senior quote.
I have terrible memory. That is one of the absolute detriments of my brain, is that I cannot remember anything. So I'm sure I quoted something, maybe funny. Who knows? Do you remember yours?
Okay, well, the original one that I wrote didn't make it in the yearbook. Okay. So the original one, I wrote this little poem because I took this poetry class and I was like so proud of it. And I submitted the poem and somehow it got lost. We won't go into the shadiness of the yearbook staff.
Scandalous.
Yeah, we won't go into that. But it got lost. So the day of, they were like, hey, it's the last day. Like, write down something funny. And I like couldn't remember my poem. So I was like, oh my gosh, and I'm so bad on the spot. Yeah. This is where if I was a comedian, I fail. Like, I'm not good at the witty. I'm just not. It's more of a Jennifer Coolidge vibe over here. Like, it's just, my being is what it is.
Your aura.
Yeah, I've got the aura. I don't have those fast, funny jokes and comebacks. And like, later someone will say something snotty to me. And then, 10 years later, I'll be like, you know what I should have said?
Yeah.
I wish I would have said this. But I think I said something stupid like, what did I say? Oh my God,
You'll have to insert it here.
Wait. Yeah, insert it here. Wait. I said something. My mom was horrified. I remember she got my yearbook back and she goes, Rosanna, what is this?
Well, now I'm very curious.
I thought it was funny at the time. I was just like, I just said something off the tip of my tongue, like just a thought. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
I said like something like, kids in the back seat cause accidents, and accidents in the back seat cause kids. Ha 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 ha. And they put
that was your senior quote.
And they put in the laughing too, because I was just like, they were like, just say something funny, and I was like, okay. So I'm just like, it's one of those jokes that just bomb. Like, it's terrible and it should have never even been repeated. And now it's forever in my fucking yearbook.
That is so funny. That's so stupid. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, it's perfect.
That's fantastic.
I should have said nothing. I should have said no comment.
No. That's way better. That absolutely random joke about having sex in the backseat of a car and getting pregnant is a perfect senior quote for nerdy nummies.
Was probably one of the weirdest things that ever came out of my mouth.
Like, is she okay?
And I was like, don't put me on the spot because you'll get something weird.
They're like, you want to publish this is the quote you want? Okay, great.
I regretted it.
Proud of you.
Yeah, well, it's out there.
That was the start.
There's the joke.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
I can't. Okay, we have to talk about love.
Okay, love.
Because when I was hanging out with Mamrie, I was so excited for her getting engaged.
I know, isn't that amazing?
That's just so, and I just love, we started talking about your wedding, how you guys eloped to Vegas.
Yeah.
So tell me the story. How did this come to be? How fun was it? Fill me in.
So I'm married to Elliot Morgan, who is a fellow content creator. He has been in the YouTube space. We had known each other for years and years. He used to be a host on SourceFed that Phil DeFranco launched, and we had met each other. Again, one of those people I would see at VidCon and be like, hey, and that's like when we would hang out with each other. And then years later, we were both single at the same time, and he asked me out on a date.
And you were like, hey, accidents in the back seat?
Basically that. We went on like one date or two dates, and then he was going to Vegas with like a couple friends, and he asked if I wanted to come. And at first I said no, and then last minute my plans changed, and I was like, I'm coming. And I like crashed his like guys weekend. So Vegas became this like fun, special, sentimental like place that we have been to many times since. And when we got engaged, we started to plan a wedding in Palm Springs.
I heard you were going to do like this big kind of production, this big kind of thing.
Yeah, we were like, looking at this Colony Palms hotel, and I was like,
I love that hotel.
I never throw parties. I never throw birthday parties. I have a very difficult time inviting people to celebrate me. Like, even doing these comedy shows now, getting people to buy tickets, I'm like, oh, this is so hard. But I was like, okay, if we're going to get married, I guess let's suck it up. We'll do the big wedding. It'll be like the one big thing that we, put our finances into, and the families will be there. And I was just having like such anxiety. Every time we started to try to plan things, I was having like panic attacks. And I was like, this is like too much for me. And then he was like, what if we just eloped in Vegas? And I was like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. I had brought it up as like a joke before, and then he kind of brought it back around seriously. And I was like, really? If you're into that, that would be great. And so we kind of planned it very quickly, last minute. And we invited just a handful of friends. And it was really great. It was so nice to just be, I think I told my parents like a week before we did it, because I was like, I don't want to tell them something if they might be upset that we're not doing the actual wedding thing that they get to come to, but they were really fine with it. I don't think they ever thought I was going to get married to begin with. So they were like, we're fine with this. You just go get married. That's great. And it was great. It was so fun. It was just
the pictures were beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah.
And it just looked like a blast. And you guys look so happy, so in love.
Yeah.
And what I really like listening to you is that it seems like you found someone who really understands you and listens to you.
Yeah.
Like when you were even like saying like, hey, I'm feeling like stressed, anxiety, and feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And he really like listened to it, even though you're like kind of half joking. He's like, hey, why don't we just go do that?
Yeah.
I think that's really wonderful.
I think so too. Yeah. We have a great friendship. He's like my best friend. And I know people say that a lot, but it really makes a difference, because I have been in relationships where we weren't friends and it was different. And so we have such a great foundation of just like respect for each other and care for each other. And we also love silly, dumb fun. And that's all Vegas is. So we were like, let's go do the thing that we love to do, which is go do stupid shit in Vegas. And we did. And now it's like we go back at least once or twice a year, and it's really fun. But it was really great. It felt very true to us. It didn't feel like we were doing it for anyone else, which is what a wedding should be.
I love that.
Thanks. Yeah, it was really, really fun. I'm like so happy we did it that way. It was such a relief. It was still like planning and it was still a little stressful, but infinitely better.
Not on that huge scale.
Yeah.
Weddings are very stressful. My aunt was ordained, and she was in Seattle. She was named the #1 officiant in like Seattle Bride magazine for many years.
That's amazing.
She would marry 300 couples a year. She was booked and busy.
Wow.
And she said that those days it's so difficult because there's so much stress involved.
Yeah.
It's a lot of emotions, and it's a lot of not just your emotions, but other people's emotions.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own idea. Things are changing.
Yeah.
So it's just creates a lot of tension.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that with weddings. Yeah.
Yeah. That it was like, this is meant to be a really fun time. And if it's not feeling fun in the planning stages, like, let's rethink how we can approach this. And it worked out great. The officiant we had was a wackadoodle. He talked about his divorce. He like went on this long, I don't even remember it. Mamrie remembers it really well, but he went on this like long tangent, some sort of metaphor about what he learned after his first or second divorce. And we were just like, okay, bud. I was like, this is honestly perfect. Like, I don't want someone that is polished. I want a man that has baggage, that is working it out at our wedding right now to everyone. Yeah. It was great. So
he could sense that you had like, oh wait, no, you hadn't had psychology
training
yet. I was gonna say maybe he could sense it. He
was going off on his own rants, his own tangents, and I was like, the floor is yours, buddy. Go for it.
We're gathered here here today.
Yeah, it was. We learned a lot about him in those few minutes that he spoke to us on our wedding day. So it was perfect. It was just like silly enough and sweet enough. It was a great combo for us.
It just looks so fun and fabulous.
Thanks.
And that's the kind of feeling I want. Because Mike and I have been together for so long now that I think if we ever get married, I want it to be really, really fun.
Of course.
And I do like to host parties, but I have noticed that weddings in particular, there's a few life moments, but it's when you're having a kid, a wedding or a funeral, it brings out emotions.
Yes.
Very strong emotions in people. And even though on, a wedding is supposed to be joyous and celebrating the love between you and your partner.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be the focus. But because of the high emotions, the weirdest stuff can happen out of people, and you see the weirdest sides of people that you never saw, and 100%. It's just this weird emotional buildup.
Yeah.
And so for those 3 events, I give people a lot of grace. I give people a lot of I'm like, those are your passes, because they are just such big emotional ventures, and I don't exactly get it, but maybe because we put so much pressure on it, on society, it's like a big event, so we all
and that was the thing too, is that it was strange in the planning phase when we were going this traditional route, because I at that point hadn't really done anything in my life that traditional, we were YouTubers, and that was completely off the beaten path, so it didn't feel right to do something that didn't feel right.
Wait, how did he propose?
He proposed. He has a little office that's detached from our house, and it was 2021 or 20. When did we get married? In 2022, I think 2021 or 2020, in the pandemic.
Yeah.
He was like, "Let's have a date night at home." And I'll set up a speakeasy. He made a little speakeasy in his office, and put up all these lights, and it was really, really romantic and sweet. And he brought me in. I was like, "This is so fun!" I started making a drink, and then I turned around, and he was on one knee, and I was totally surprised, totally surprised. Haven't been, I think maybe getting breast cancer was the most surprised I've been since then. That one was in the front before. And so, totally caught me off guard. And then I found out that he had asked my dad for permission and done that whole thing. So I was like, my parents
really
know this
sweet.
is happening? Because again, I didn't grow up with that fantasy of being married and having kids. So I don't think my parents ever thought I was going to do that traditional thing. And so I couldn't believe that he had already talked to them about it. It was really sweet. Yeah.
That's adorable.
Yeah. It was very perfect in the sense that had he done anything in public, I would have been mortified. And so the fact that it was just us at home was really great.
I like that. I like romantic little stuff like that.
Yeah,
it
was
a lot.
Just perfectly sentimental and dialed into our tastes and preferences. It was just really cute.
It was just so your vibe.
Yeah, exactly. It was just very easy. It wasn't over the top. I loved it.
So wait, do you remember how many episodes of your podcast you have out?
With Mamrie?
Yeah.
I think we're on 300 and something now, which is crazy. It's also crazy to me, too, that we started this podcast in 2017, 2018. So we started it after the really intense years of making YouTube stuff. And so I feel man, had we been podcasting during that time, it would be really interesting to go back and listen to those stories of what was going on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you find it's kind of time capsules? You can go back in time and kind of check in with yourself? A little memory box.
A little. I have a hard time watching my old stuff sometimes and looking back.
I hate it.
Yeah?
I cringe at myself.
Yeah.
You know how some people, have you ever done those videos where you will react to your older videos and make fun of yourself?
Yeah, I've done a couple. I've done one. Well, I did something on Smosh a year or two ago where they showed me my old videos, and it was immersion therapy that I was I don't really want to do this, but we can do it. That's fine.
The hardest part for me is looking at what the was I wearing?
I know that too.
Why would I wear that? Why was I dressing like that? Why did I think that was cute? It is so hard to watch.
Yeah, the whole thing is hard to watch of being like, oh, I guess that's what I thought was funny. Okay. But there's also like so many, I don't know if you've experienced this. I have just like, I feel like there's chunks of my memory that are really gone from those busy years that people will sometimes refer to pieces of content or show me pieces of content that I have absolutely no recollection making, that I'm like, oh. And it's not just because there was heavy drinking involved. There was a few years where things were happening so fast that I don't think I could remember actually keeping up with the content that was being made. But yeah, we now are into so many episodes of the podcast, and it still feels really fun to sit down because it's truly two best friends talking to each other just about the week that they've had, catching up, talking about weird thoughts they have. And the cool thing, like Mamrie just did this cookbook tour and she got to meet a lot of the audience and a lot of people that are listening to the podcast. And a lot of people, she said, found us in the pandemic, have no knowledge of our YouTube history at all. Some of them didn't even know what we look like because they've only listened to the podcast. And I was like, that's so nice to hear. There's something really freeing about that, because I think a lot of times we like tether ourselves to this era of content creation and think that the audience that we still have only knows us from there. So it's been really cool in the podcast world to kind of expand the audience a little bit.
Whoa.
Yeah, really cool.
Out of your podcast audience, do a bunch of people come see you when you're on tour, when you're doing your comedy?
Yeah, there's been a lot of people coming to see the comedy shows, which has been so nice. And Mamrie and I actually did a live podcast recording for her book tour in Chicago a couple weeks ago. And I want
to come see it, but Mamrie said I missed it.
Yeah, we already did it. I know, but it was so fun that we want to do it more. Because usually when she and I do live shows, we like write a variety show and we do like jokes and comedy bits and things like that. And this one, we just sat down and recorded a podcast like we would normally out here in LA. And it was so fun to be in a room of people actually laughing at the jokes we're saying rather than just the two of us in a silent room like talking to each other. So we want to do more of that.
I think you should, because you guys have been touring forever. I remember when I started YouTube, I started making videos, and you guys were the first people that I saw like take the show on the road. Like you took the comedy on the road, and you were doing performances. It felt like everywhere. So you've been touring for a really long time.
Yeah, we've been touring in a lot of different iterations. Like she and I and Hannah would do a lot of live shows in the past, and it was usually around the promotion of like one of us had a book coming out or something. So we would do these tours as a way to, garner book sales. And so this show that I'm doing now is the first time I've done live comedy by myself on stage like this.
Oh my gosh, Grace.
Yeah, so it's the first. Oh,
that's right. You've kind of always been in a
duo
team,
or
group,
trio.
Yeah,
so this is the first time I'm doing.
Look at you, badass.
I know, it's crazy. It's very scary, but it's very rewarding, and it's just a different type of creativity that I'm having a really good time in right now.
I want to see it.
Yeah, I know. Shows are slowly.
So what I gotta go to Edinburgh. How do you say it?
Edinburgh, I think.
Edinburgh.
I might not be even saying
Edinburgh.
Scotland, basically.
Mike's Scottish.
Well, there you go. So you have to come.
He's got there's an old family castle of his there.
Well, damn.
That's a pile of rubbles.
Okay. I was going to say, can I stay there while I'm over in Edinburgh?
You'll need to bring a tent.
Yeah.
Because it's a historical site now, and now it's just a pile of rocks. And what I'm really hoping is I can contact maybe the government over there, maybe team up, and they'd let me maybe finance, rebuild it. I would love to restore the castle.
Amazing.
Because
see, this is why you're so interesting. It's because you just get an idea about something and you're like, I'm just going to talk to the government. Yeah. I'd be like, that would be the furthest from my brain. The fact that that's the first thing, you're like, I'll just go have a quick chat with the government and we'll rebuild it.
Yeah, let's see what they'll say. Because you know what? 10 years ago, I looked it up. I did a little digging.
Yeah, hey, no pun intended.
I'm literally like a librarian. I'm like a fun drinking librarian who likes a little cannabis. So I'm looking it up. I'm like, So this property was for sale like 10 years ago, but I missed the window and I should have bought it then. But then it got dubbed a historical
landmark or something?
Mike's family history. So then now the castle's in ruins. It's a pile of rocks.
Damn.
So I'm like, what tourist wants to go see a pile of rocks?
There you go.
I'm going to say that, and then people are going to be like, well... And they're going to have all these...
Have you seen Stonehenge?
Stonehenge. They're going to say all these historical things and be like, well, a lot of people go to see rocks.
Yeah.
Okay, but this was supposed to be a family home castle.
Yeah.
So I would really love to restore it.
Let's just add it to your list of stuff you're working on.
When are you going? What are the dates?
I'm going for the month of August.
August?
Yeah.
Mike, when are the Highland Games?
That's so funny. I can't...
May and conclude in September.
What are the Highland Games?
The Highland Games? Grace.
I know the term.
They throw trees and shit. No,
those
logs.
types
the
of
West
games.
Highland Games.
Shit.
And
they like launch rocks and things.
It's a lot of track and field. It's a lot of hurling things and strength, agility.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to really look into that.
Okay, I'm going to see your dates and see if I can come for some Highland Games, and then I'll take a meeting with the government, and then I'll come by a comedy show.
Sounds like a great week.
A well-rounded trip.
Yeah, it plans itself.
Oh my God, Grace, I might actually do this.
I believe you, and I would love it.
I'm just wild enough that
I know
I'll do
you
it.
are. I know you are.
I will actually show up. And Grace, are the dates like on the website? Or?
Yeah, and I'm getting more dates on like a rolling basis. So if you go to my Instagram bio, there's a link to the dates.
Okay, I was going to ask you which social media is the best to put first, like which one you're the most active on.
Instagram for sure.
Okay, Instagram. Yeah. So you guys, that does it for the podcast. Rodiculous. Thanks for listening, and thanks for hanging out with us, Grace. You're amazing.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
This was amazing. And if you guys, you're going to see our beautiful faces at VidCon. And if you want to see Grace on tour, I'm going to be putting links down below so we can go check out her tour dates. And as she said, that their new dates are rolling in.
Yeah.
And I just might show up at one.
I would love that. Please.
I want to see it so bad because I just want to hear your story, like from your perspective with all of your wit, because you guys are so funny.
Thanks. I feel
just
really
love
proud
it.
of this show. So I hope people come out and check it out.
I hope they do too. I'm sending you all my best. Bye, you guys. Thanks for listening. And I really want to get involved in like some type of...
this could be anything what you're going to say.
Support for charity for cancer. I don't know what I want to do, but I want to do something.
Absolutely. We'll figure it out.
I'll talk to you more about that because I've got questions.